as we come off the Disney earnings report, there are three big legal areas that I'm paying attention to. Three, I got it over here too. Three big legal areas that I'm paying attention to that are huge risks for Disney and huge liabilities for Disney going forward, which could end up any one of them bankrupting Disney and absolutely wrecking Disney and destroying them in terms of financial risk. We're going to talk about those today in terms of mergers and acquisitions, in terms of employment law, and also in terms of litigation. Of course, I am Andrew Esquire. This is the Legal Mindset, where we teach you to be your own judge. Let's just get right into it. We came off the earnings call, and I'm currently traveling, so I'm dropping this premiere for you guys. But I wanted to look at different areas of the law, because the law has been intertwined with Disney as they continue to run afoul, both ending up in the courtroom and as well as getting tied up in various regulatory messes, arbitration disputes. There's so much going on that requires a legal eye regarding Disney. But let's start with some of the easiest stuff. Some of the stuff that's out there was pretty clear, and this came right before the earnings call and at the earnings call, and that's mergers and acquisitions. So obviously we had a big one with the Penn deal with ESPN. Now, the Penn gambling deal is going to essentially allow ESPN Bet to be stamped on, that ESPN stamp to go on a sports book, which is huge for marketing. So Disney is not going to actually have to run any of that. Penn is still going to run all of that. They're going to do all the gambling side. And an interesting fact is Penn actually just severed their relationship with David Portnoy. So it's very interesting, after getting rid of Barstool and getting that back to Portnoy, it's very interesting that they were able to get rid of Portnoy and then take on Disney, as if Disney is less problematic than Portnoy. At this juncture in time, I think Disney's actually taking the cake over Barstool. That's my personal opinion. But this was literally one day they do one thing, and the next day they do the deal with ESPN. Now, one of the interesting legal issues there is, hey, they've got a lot of contracts with a lot of different people. And many of those companies that have contracts with ESPN may have moral clauses in there, or may have other clauses regarding gambling, which they need to look at very carefully, specifically the NCAA. They may need to look at their contracts and say, hey, are we going to allow this? Are we going to allow for these people to have a essentially contract to broadcast, but at the same time to run a sports book, when at the same time most players in the college level are not allowed to gamble. In fact, they're forbidden from gambling. Players, staff, other folks are forbidden expressly from gambling. So if you're going to hold that as a standard for the players, why are you not holding administrators or the administration to that standard when it comes to contract negotiation? I think they should absolutely not be directly contracting with folks that are gambling. That is hypocritical. If they're going to go out and allow gambling, to allow a contract with a company that endorses gambling, well, then it should be off the table. Then it should be, let it go free. Either you're going to let everybody gamble or nobody gets to gamble. It's not like you can just make money on one side and then not pay it out on another. I'm feeling a lot like that episode of South Park with Cartman and the football team, if you guys know what I mean. We're talking about the NCAA. But I think this is a huge issue for them with some of their contracts. And now, going further with mergers and acquisitions, we obviously had a hint during the earnings call in a "the lady doth protest too much" moment that Apple might be interested in a buyout. Now, of course, under the law, regulatory law, if there was a bona fide offer, they would have to actually disclose that. They'd have to talk about that. But they put out there that, hey, if this was going to go through, it would be a regulatory nightmare. Well, they probably know how much a nightmare it will be, because they're thinking about it, because they've already thought about it, because it's something that's crossed their mind. And listen, they've gone through other high-profile mergers, specifically the Fox merger. That was a pretty big merger for Disney. So That being said, being used to large mergers, with also acquisitions of other very large companies. I mean, Marvel, Lucasfilm, those are very large acquisitions. They're used to that, right? So this is something they did not rule off the table. And listen, this could sink them potentially if they go into this acquisition or this merger with Apple and they get things wrong. It could really end up with an entirely different Disney after everything is said and done with them. So then moving on to employment law, which is number 2 of the 3. And what they let slip is they are far further with AI than they think. And why is this important? Because, well, the writers and producers, the showrunners that are striking right now in California and think they own the world, they think they're entitled to their $1 million a year plus salary. Even if they're not doing anything or writing anything, they should just be paid, a salary for doing absolutely nothing. Those folks are in some trouble. They thought that they would come to the negotiating table and everything would be resolved because they've got Hollywood celebrities on their side. In fact, I just saw they have TikTokers. They have like TikTokers that amount to 50 million subs on TikTok, and they're supporting them. So that should break them, right? Well, no, because they are further along with AI than they thought. And because of that, they may be able to do some things they didn't think of before. And we may end up in a world where some of these contracts are being renegotiated at unfavorable terms, that the terms do not end up the same way they wanted under California law. Now, of course, this remains to be seen. It is still a little bit speculative, but that being said, I do not think they're going to get what they want. And I think this may actually result in a big shift in the employment relations, not just at Disney, but throughout Hollywood. I think there could be a little bit of a reckoning here. And this may just be because Bob Iger needs to pinch pennies to buy Hulu, but for whatever reason it is, and whether or not we like Bob Iger or dislike Bob Iger, it really doesn't matter. It's going to change the industry here. So this is actually a Disney neutral take, but it's going to end up changing things wildly. Now, that being said, producing bad content and continuing to virtue signal over producing good content will still bankrupt them, even if they were using as much AI as possible. However, it might be able to lower costs in the short run. Also, number 3, moving into the last one, and the biggest one that was unmentioned, and of course my area of specialty, is the litigation, specifically the Florida litigation, which no one is talking about. No one's talking about the costs at Disney World if Disney loses. No one is talking about what's at stake here. What's at stake is billions, if not trillions of dollars. And no, I'm not exaggerating because I'm talking about future dollars. There will be inflation. In fact, there's probably going to be a lot of inflation coming in the near future. And because of that, Disney in Florida, if they're there for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, are going to spend billions and trillions extra in costs in Florida because they now have people watching them who should be watching them, regulating them that should be regulating them. They're paying things they needed to pay that they needed to pay in the first place, and they got away with not paying before. And because of that, once they lose their lawsuits there, particularly regarding their development rights, they're going to have to play by the same rules as everybody else. And Disney does not like a fair playing field. They like a stacked deck. And that's just simply not what's going to happen because we actually have a motion to dismiss Disney's federal case. I did a video on that. Make sure you go check that out on my channel. It's the one with the thumbnail, Florida Checkmate. You can't miss it. And by the way, don't miss the like button, the comment button, or subscribe button. I really hope that these type of videos have earned your subscription, particularly when I'm doing this, even when I'm feeling sick, even when I'm holding back a cough right now. I'm holding it back for you guys because I love y'all. But this will really hurt Disney, and they're about to lose that federal case and really get it handed to them in the state case. It may take a while, trials are slow, but they will lose, and they are not talking about that. Guys, these are 3 huge ways that Disney is in potential trouble here, and the industry, particularly Hollywood, is in trouble. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.